What's going on, Jeff? Remember me, the fired Amazon worker that you signed off on the smear campaign? Now you're going to have the Met Gala where you're going to be surrounded by all these elites and billionaires and A-listers when you have poverty right outside on the streets.
It's been such a fun and meaningful experience. And when Anna called me and said, do you want to co-chair and also be the sponsors of the Met, I was so honored.
The Bible told you to walk out, to look out for billionaires, didn't they?
Yep.
Sure did.
Didn't they say it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to see the kingdom of heaven? Do you know why? Because biblically they know what the horrible things you gotta do.
Have you noticed that some of the greatest black actors in the world, like Denzel Washington and Samuel L. Jackson, have never been to the Met Gala? Not even once. Now, they're not gonna come out and say why. That's not something you say if you want to keep working in Hollywood. But D.L. Hughley, he doesn't care about being part of that club. And now he is really exposing the whole thing without even mentioning the Met Gala by name. A lot of black men figured it out, and D.L. Hughley just had the nerve to say the quiet part out loud. So let me walk you through what he was really getting at. See, Hughley pointed out that billionaires like Bezos will spend $50 million on a wedding before they'll spend a dime making sure their employees can read. And according to DL, you can't preach about civil rights and then align yourself with people like Bezos.
These people would rather go to space and pay people fair rate. They would rather have a $50 million wedding than to make sure that they're employed, than to make sure that people can read. They would rather sue the IRS for $10 billion to make sure people have free lunches.
Yeah.
Evil is as evil does. So what is about those people? When those people align themselves with you, it is transactional. It's for what they can get.
Now here's where it all connects. The same year Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez were named honorary chairs of the Met Gala, New Yorkers were literally in the streets protesting. Because someone like Bezos shouldn't be running cultural events that profit off black bodies.
Culture comes from the creatives and the designers who keep this place vibrant. It comes from the hands that stitch the garments. It comes from the workers who move the packages, from the caregivers who hold communities together, from the people who make every little thing run. And that's why we're here, because labor is art.
Even the theme this year had some problematic undertones, but no one really talked about this in mainstream media. The official dress code was "Fashion is art." But if you check the announcement on the Metropolitan Museum website, it said, with a primary focus on a grand scope of Western art. And you know what that means. Roman and Greek aesthetics that people like Bezos, Elon Musk, and their class are obsessed with. Remember when Musk changed his bio to Imperator of Mars?
Now, in the right hands, the theme of fashion and art and how those two things got separated in the first place could be fascinating. But I am deeply troubled by the fact that their website says that they are literally going to be focusing primarily on Western art. It looks like we're going really heavy on the Greek and Roman themes, specifically the version of those themes that's highly fetishized by white supremacists and billionaires. As predicted, under the Trump administration, museums are making more and more conservative choices and showing things that really are uncritical celebrations of whiteness. Not Europeanness, mind you. Whiteness at the expense of everything else.
And then if you start asking questions like, who actually controls the Met Gala? Who decides which black celebrities get invited, what they have to wear, and what they have to do to stay in good standing, you start realizing why a lot of black men want nothing to do with it. So let's talk about who actually runs the Met Gala, because that's where things start to get weird. Anna Wintour, the woman with a power bob and sunglasses that she never takes off. She's been running this thing for decades. And here's what a lot of people don't know. Even conservative outlets have compared her to a slave owner. I'm not making that up. The National Review, which is not exactly a woke publication, once wrote that the Met Gala revived racial segregation and that Anna Wintour treats celebrities like a chattel labor force. They straight up compared the whole event to a slave auction scene. The argument they made was that Anna Wintour tells even famous black people how to present themselves, what to wear, how to act. So these celebrities, some of the most successful black actors and musicians in the world, show up dressed the way she wants restaurants, perform for the cameras, and then go home, while the museum keeps the millions of dollars they raised. None of that money goes to black communities. So you have a mostly white, ultra-wealthy audience watching black celebrities walk a red carpet, wearing outfits that were mostly not designed by black designers, at an event where the honorary chairs are billionaires like Jeff Bezos. Now let me explain why this hits differently for black men specifically. The Met Gala picks a theme every year, and one year, the theme was all about black dandyism. Super fine, tailoring black style. Sounded respectful on the surface, but if you dig into the history, you'll see why it's actually kind of insulting. Black dandyism started during the Harlem Renaissance. It was when black men dressed in really sharp, elegant suits at a time when they didn't even have the right to vote. It was a political act. It was a way of saying, I'm a human being with dignity, to a country that refused to see them that way. That's what made it powerful.
Now fast forward to the Met Gala. Anna Wintour and company took that same aesthetic, that act of resistance, and turned it into a costume party for rich people.
Black celebrities are asked to show up dressed as dandies, so white billionaires can look at them and feel cultured. And then what's also weird is that black women were also told to dress masculine.
Can we please have a serious conversation about how black women was styled at this year's Met Gala? Because while a dress code might have been menswear, the overall theme was dandyism. And we saw a lot, so let's digest this. Now, dandyism has always been about rebellion, challenging societal norms, and self-expression. But here's the thing. Black women has never been fully allowed to even exist in that narrative.
Now this is where it gets darker. And I'm not talking about conspiracy theories anymore. This is stuff that actually happened. The same article that compared Anna Wintour to a slave owner also pointed out specific moments that went way beyond fashion. They mentioned Halle Berry exposing herself on the Met Gala carpet, and K-pop star Lisa wearing Rosa Parks' face on her undergarments. Now ask yourself, how does that happen? Why would the only black woman to ever win an Oscar for Best Actress degrade herself with that outfit? And why was a non-black woman allowed to wear Rosa Parks' face on her private area? Either they thought that was a good idea, which is hard to believe, or somebody told them to do it, and they felt like they couldn't say no. That's the thing about power. When you're at that level, you don't get invited back if you're difficult. You don't get the magazine covers. You don't get the movie deals. The industry is small, and Anna Wintour has been sitting at the center of it for 40 years.
So what do you call it when someone tells you to put on a costume, walk past a crowd of rich white people, and do something that might embarrass you later? Some people call it a party. Others call it something else, a ritual.
You don't care how people feel about the ritual. It's about does following the ritual work. Yeah. And so you can fool yourself into thinking there isn't one, but the evidence will be clear.
Now think about black men specifically. They don't get asked to do the same kind of stuff as black women, but they're expected to show up, dress a certain way, smile, and not cause any problems. The minute a black man looks uncomfortable or says something real, he's labeled angry, threatening, difficult to work with. So a lot of them just don't go. It's not that they weren't invited, it's that they figured out the game and decided not to play. So here's where you have to start paying attention to who's not in the room. We mentioned Denzel and Samuel L. Jackson, but it's not just them. Terrence Howard, Morgan Freeman, Forrest Whitaker, all Oscar-winning actors, but they never attended the Met Gala.
Now look, some of these guys might have been invited at some point. Maybe they went once and decided that was enough, but the pattern is hard to ignore. A lot of successful black men in entertainment want nothing to do with that event. And here's the thing, they're not talking about it. Nobody gives interviews saying, I'm boycotting the Met Gala, because that could get you in trouble in Hollywood. But the reason these successful black men avoid the Met Gala is because they see what it really is. It's a plantation-themed costume party where billionaires watch black celebrities perform dignity for them, and a lot of them decided they'd rather stay home. Now let me bring it back to Jeff Bezos and why D.L. Hughley's comments matter here. Because the plantation analogy is uncomfortable for a lot of people. They'll say times have changed, it's just a party, it's not that deep, you're reading too much into it. But then you look at who's actually running the show behind the scenes, and it starts to make more sense. The man who owns Amazon, who fought against unionization, who allegedly told his own employees they couldn't afford to pee in bottles, is now the face of a charity gala celebrating black style. D.L. Hughley's point is that these people don't actually care about the
communities they borrow culture from. They just want the aesthetic. They want the photos. They want the credibility. And black celebrities are the props that make that happen. You put a famous black face on the invitation, and rich white people feel like the event is relevant, like it's connected to something real. But the money never trickles down. The power never gets shared. The next year, the same billionaires show up with the same dates and the same black celebrities walk the same carpet, and everybody pretends it's progress. D.L. Hughley saw through that, and he said it out loud.
So I don't think all billionaires are evil. I think most are. I do. I don't think most white men are all white men are racist. I think most are. And I don't think all men are toxic. I think most are, because I can tell you, you should judge them by their fruit. All the things that are happening that are racist and evil. Who's on that Epstein list? Billionaires. Who's protecting them? Billionaires. Why do we not have money for social services? Billionaires. 300, almost a million people are dead right now because they cut off the funding for USAID. Who did that?
And look, the Met Gala is not some conspiracy in the shadows. It's right out in the open. Anna Wintour runs it like a plantation. Billionaires like Bezos buy their way in as honorary chairs. Black celebrities are invited to perform for them, and the money never helps black communities. Some black men figured this out a long time ago. They're not at the gala, not because they weren't asked. They're not there because they don't want to be part of it. So if you want to know what the Met Gala is really all about, stop looking at who's on the red carpet. Start looking at who's missing. And then ask yourself what they know that everybody else is afraid to say. But I want to hear your take on all this. Why do you think some of the most famous black actors in the world, like Denzel, never attend the Met Gala? And do you agree with DL's take on billionaires who run the whole thing? Drop your comments below and stay tuned for the next video.